The sky above the floating city of Eldoria suddenly turned pitch black. A tear in reality pulsed with dark energy, and from its depths, three horrifying figures emerged. These were the Dark God's most feared generals, ready to bring the world to its knees. First came Kalza, the Shadow Beast, a monstrous wolf-like creature whose very claws could drain magic and life force from anything they touched. Then Morrigan, the Sorceress of Pain, a cunning mage who delighted in twisting reality and preying on her victims' deepest fears. Finally, Volkath the Titan, a colossal warrior clad in impenetrable armor, whose sword could shatter mountains with a single, earth-shaking swing. They had arrived, and their target was the Celestial Summit, the last beacon of hope in Eldoria. But Eldoria wouldn't fall without a fight. Atop the highest spire of the city stood our heroes. Takumi, the hero from another world. Lyra, the fiery dragon mage. Selene, the swift and silent warrior. And Mina, the sharp-eyed archer. They knew this was more than just a battle. It was a stand for the survival of their world. They had a plan, a desperate strategy forged in the face of overwhelming odds. And high above, Mina would provide ranged support and critical reconnaissance, her keen eyes ensuring no surprise attacks could catch them off guard. The stage was set for a battle that would decide the fate of Eldoria. The moment the generals touched down, the city became a war zone. The clash was immediate and absolutely relentless. He parried a blow from Volkath that cracked the very ground they stood on, the impact sending shockwaves across the summit. One moment, they were fighting on solid ground. The next, the city seemed to crumble into a bottomless abyss beneath their feet. It was pure chaos, and the generals were in their element. Takumi realized their current strategy wasn't enough. They were being pushed back, overwhelmed by the sheer power and coordinated assault of the three generals. He needed to go beyond his limits, to risk it all for a chance at victory. With a determined shout, he activated his ultimate form, Elemental Ascension. His body became a conduit for raw, untamed power. Fire, ice, and lightning crackled around him, coalescing into a single, blinding attack aimed straight at Kalza. At the same instant, Lyra focused all her might, unleashing her Inferno Dragon magic. A colossal dragon made of pure fire erupted from her hands, wrapping around Takumi's elemental blast and amplifying its power tenfold. The combined attack slammed into Kalzor with the force of a meteor. The shadow beast let out a piercing howl of agony, its form flickering as it was forced to retreat into the shadows to lick its wounds. One general was down, but the fight was far from over. Just as they gained a sliver of momentum, Morrigan made her move. She had been watching Takumi, studying his resolve. With a flick of her wrist, she ensnared him in a powerful mind illusion. The battlefield vanished, replaced by horrific visions of failure. He saw Lyra, Celine, and Mina all gravely injured, calling his name in despair. He saw the villages he'd sworn to protect burn to ash. He saw Eldoria, the beautiful world he had come to love, crumble under the dark god's shadow. An icy grip of fear and despair tightened around his heart, threatening to shatter his will to fight. This was Morrigan's specialty, breaking heroes not with force, but with the weight of their own failures. But as the darkness consumed him, Takumi remembered. He remembered what had carried him through every impossible battle so far. It wasn't just his own power. It was the unwavering bonds he shared with his companions. He saw Lyra's hand, always reaching for his when danger was near, her trust a blazing fire in the dark. He felt Celine's quiet strength, her silent support a bedrock of loyalty that never faltered. He heard Mina's cheerful laughter, a sound that gave him the courage to stand up again, even when all hope seemed lost. These bonds were his true strength. With a defiant roar that echoed from his soul, Takumi unleashed his ethereal bond ability, a power that linked their hearts and minds as one. A surge of warmth, trust, and courage flooded him, shattering Morrigan's illusion like a pane of glass. He was back, and he wasn't alone. Fueled by their shared strength, the team re-engaged with renewed ferocity. Together, they were an unstoppable force. Takumi and Celine moved in perfect sync, their attacks flowing into one another. Lyra and Mina coordinated their spells and arrows, creating a storm of fire and light that Morrigan's illusions couldn't hide from. The sorceress of pain shrieked as her own magic was turned against her. The combined will of the four heroes proving too pure for her corruption. Seeing his allies falter, the mighty Volcath slammed his sword down, intending to obliterate them all. But this time, they were ready. Working as one, they dodged his cataclysmic strike and unleashed a counteroffensive so powerful that it cracked his seemingly invincible armor. The Titan roared in frustration and pain. The generals had been beaten. They retreated back into the growing rift, but the victory felt hollow. The city was damaged, the heroes were exhausted, and worst of all, the rift in the sky was now larger, pulsing with an even more malevolent energy. The dark god was awakening. As they caught their breath amidst the wreckage, the ethereal goddess Amateria appeared before them once more, her form shimmering with soft light. Her voice was grave. "You have fought bravely," she said, "but that was only a prelude. The dark god's true form is about to manifest. Your individual powers, even at their peak, will not be enough. She looked at each of them, her gaze lingering on the bonds that connected them. Only by mastering your ultimate abilities and relying completely on the bonds you share can you hope to defeat what is coming. Her message was clear. They had to get stronger, and they had to do it together. There was no time to waste. Takumi began to train with an intensity he'd never known. He pushed his skills to their absolute breaking point, and in doing so, unlocked incredible upgrades. His celestial slash, once a single powerful strike, could now split reality itself, allowing him to attack multiple enemies across the battlefield simultaneously. His Phoenix's rebirth ability evolved. No longer did it just revive him, but it could now bring back all of his allies from the brink of death, though only once per battle, and his temporal shift, which once allowed him to slow time, could now stop it entirely for a few precious seconds, just long enough to coordinate a perfect, synchronized attack with the girls. Lyra, Selene, and Mina also pushed past their limits. Lyra unlocked Dragon's Inferno, a cataclysmic firestorm capable of engulfing entire armies. Selene perfected her Moonlight Judgment, a blade technique so precise it could bypass any magical defense, and Mina mastered Spirit Rain, a devastating barrage of enchanted arrows that could perfectly sync with Takumi's elemental magic, creating explosive magical reactions. They were ready. Together, they journeyed to the heart of the rift, the source of all the chaos. There, suspended in a vortex of swirling darkness and fractured space, the Dark God finally revealed its true form. It was a sight beyond mortal comprehension, a colossal, ever-shifting figure wreathed in black flames. Dozens of glowing, malevolent eyes covered its body, each one staring into their souls, promising nothing but oblivion. Its mere presence warped reality, the air crackling with an aura of pure cosmic dread. But Takumi and his friends did not flinch. Facing the embodiment of destruction, Takumi raised his sword, his voice ringing with unshakable conviction. This ends here. We are not your pawns. Eldoria will be free. The final battle began, a conflict that shook the very fabric of the heavens. Every single attack pushed them to their absolute limits. Lyra's firestorms were swallowed by the Dark God's abyssal magic. Selena's reality-cutting slashes were deflected by warped space. Mina's arrows dissolved into nothingness before they could even reach their target. The Dark God retaliated with waves of devastating power that twisted time and space, separating the heroes and turning their own strengths against them. Exhaustion was setting in, and despair began to creep at the edges of their minds. Takumi knew they couldn't win by just throwing their strongest attacks at it. They needed something more. They had to combine all their powers, their wills, and their bonds into a single, flawless, perfectly synchronized strike. It was their one and only chance. Thanks for watching this far. If you're loving this journey through Eldoria, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the epic conclusion. We'll see you in the next video.